let's have a look at how to create a really nicely textured cloak. So to begin the process, I've given a simple airbrush layer of greys onto the back of the cloak. I've applied gloss varnish, and then I've applied a couple of decals from the Ultramarine decal set. For the underneath, I wanted to give a crimson cloak, so I've given this a base coat of deep red, and then to highlight it I am using Hot Orange by Vallejo. So I'm using a stippling technique here in order to impart a rich velvet kind of texture. So I don't want to hit every single note. I don't need to paint every single note of light on there. What I want instead is just a generalized pattern which I can build on top of. You have to be okay with the chaos at this stage. When you do apply it, it will look quite messy, but just believe that it will build into something else. Don't use your best brushes for this either, because this technique does have a tendency to destroy them. Next up, add a pinch of Sunny Skin Tone just to lighten the hot orange slightly, and we aren't using stippling at this stage. Well, I guess we are using a stippling technique, but we've been a lot more focused with it. Before you splay the bristles out, you'd attack the surface. With this, it's smaller dots, more focused on the highlighted portions, so we are working in ever decreasing bands of light to focus it. At this stage, do not worry one jot about the texture looking slightly unusual and looking slightly too much of a contrast there. We need to push the contrast at this stage so we can blend it and smooth it back later on in the process. Okay, I've mixed a lot more sunny skin tone into this mixture at this point, so it's roughly around 30% sunny skin tone, 70% hot orange, and I am focusing the highlight even further. So you can see it is very, very strong, the contrast we have at this point. Try and focus on the highlight, those individual dots, to give that reflective quality to the cloak. So when working with big open areas like this, especially Space Marines, it's easy to fall into the trap of not adding much texture to them. So you have this cloak which can be highlighted with an airbrush, but when put in combination with the armor plates, it's all large flat areas that you can break up in this manner. Touches of freehand, touches of texturizing like this do help with the overall impression, and especially with a glamour legion like the Ultramarines. I mean, look at this guy. He's not a shrinking violet whatsoever. He will be wearing very fine attire even into battle. He can always get a new cloak. Take Crimson ink by Dale Arowney and mix water with it to create a glaze consistency. I'm using a number 2 Winsor & Newton brush here, something with a good belly, something with a good barrel to the hairs, and then I am gliding this over the surface. So we don't want this to create an artificial shadow. We're trying to bind the colours we've produced on there so far. I think it might be a slight misconception just through how we're taught to paint through Games Workshop that adding this layer of ink essentially is to create an artificial shadow. It's not. It's to unify the colours and it's to boost up the saturation of them. While it's still dry, and you've seen there a little bit of a preview, that I've gone back to hot orange on the tip of the bristles, and I've started to add more of a blended filigree pattern. So hot orange, while it's still drying, I can just use this on top of the drying ink surface to help the blend. And that's it. So you may notice, for the eagle-eyed among you, that in the promotional videos and photographs, that this guy's cloak actually changes to purple later on. It's completely my fault. I made a mistake. The client, so this is a commission piece for a client, he originally asked for it to be with a magenta cloak, not red, so I changed it post-production. But it's the same stages, but replacing it with magenta. So very sorry about that, Kim. I hope he wins you lots of battles, because this piece is with the client now. Okay, for the base, I'm leaning on my favourite colour, possibly my favourite colour set at the moment, the stone grey. So I'm using a brown earth to begin with. I'll add a layer of that, and then I use 2 of these slightly lighter colours to begin the dry brushing process. I believe it's green stone and light stone. And I'll build up the highlight on the base. If you haven't picked up anything by Life Colour before, I highly recommend it. With Christmas around the corner, why not pick yourself up a set? And no, I do not own shares in Life Colour. The full footage for the basing here unfortunately was corrupted. But it's just one of those things. If you did want to learn how to do this texturized base, if you did want to learn how to do marble basing, there is an entire essential series dedicated towards this subject via the $7 plus pledge. So if you did want to know a way to create it, go ahead. And then have a look at the Horus base tutorial as well. Same technique, same color combination, just to build it up. But essentially here I've used a light stone to begin the texturizing, then I'm going with Rhinoxide to develop the veins of the marble. sell the effect, I finally finish everything off with brown brown weathering powder by Model Display Products. Blah, sorry about that. So for those old hats who are watching the video series, you know that I bought these weathering powders about 7 or 8 years ago, and I immediately mixed up all the caps. So I'm unsure exactly what colours I'm using. MDP products, they do sell a set for around £20 or £30, I think. Very reasonable. Pick up the whole set and just mix and match between the dark browns, the lighter browns. I'm using an older beat up brush for this. I'm very roughly pushing this on the base of the cloak in order to make it look lived in. I don't want to make him look ethereal. I want him to look like he's actually been through a battlefield condition, and you see all those white decals, it just blends into the rest of the scene. I'll finish off the base with Thamar Black, and that is it for the base. So let's have a look at how we create the marble interior to this memorial or amorial. So the pre-coating stage has still been left behind. When I come to paint this, we almost have like a stone greyish, greenish appearance that I'll go on and embellish with ivory, just straight up ivory. I've placed this on my wet palette, so the paint is the consistency just slightly thicker than skim milk. So as you can see, when we apply it, it kind of wipes away with it. And while the paint is still wet, I'm using Rhinox hide to very, very carefully painting the veins. And it's as simple as that. So thank you very much. I'll leave you the photograph of the finished product so you can have a little gander what we've done. Any questions, concerns, problems, please, please, please contact me. And if you paint anything based off this, please send me pictures. Until next time.